Did you know that URLs are important for SEO and they can improve your user experience, ranking, and indexing your website? And many bloggers, website owners, and even SEOs are making tons of mistakes and don't create SEO-friendly URL for their web pages. Hey, what's up, Ems? Eduard here. In this video, you will learn how to create an SEO URL for any of your web pages and blog posts and increase your ranking and organic traffic by applying the best practices for SEO URLs. So, let's get started. But before that, please, if you learned something new throughout the video, then like this video and write a nice comment below. It helps a lot. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel to learn more about SEO. So, what is URL? Uniform Resource Locator, or URL, is the address of a website and its pages for search engines and browsers to retrieve any published resources on the website. URL was created primarily for online users as a nickname to navigate easily around the internet to hide website IP addresses that are used by computers to communicate with each other. Just like with home address, instead of writing home coordinates to send a slow mail, you are using a home address that is easier to remember and find for the postman. And why is URL important for SEO? URLs are playing a significant part in your SEO and can be used in numerous ways to increase your ranking, click-through rate, and search visibility. And you shouldn't definitely neglect your URLs like so many bloggers and webmasters do. And here we have three important reasons why. The first reason is that URLs helps to improve user experience. URLs were made mainly for online users to navigate and understand the web page they landed on. Therefore, properly optimizing the SEO URL will help users to understand what's the page about. For example, if you would visit a page with a URL using only IDs, tags, and tracking codes, it wouldn't tell you anything about the web page and you would have to read the content on the page to know what's this page about. However, if you would see a page with a proper SEO URL, you could easily understand what's the page about and where you are. For example, in this picture, you can see the URL and you can easily understand that the page is about link building services by looking at the category path and the slug. And you don't need to read the page content to understand it. The second reason is that URLs are a ranking factor in numerous ways. First of all, Google uses URLs as a tiny factor when assessing your website for ranking. Second, URLs are used by search engines to better understand what's your content about before it is indexed. Therefore, using undescriptive URLs can make it difficult for search engines to properly index your content, which can lead to poor performance in search. And thirdly, URLs should stay constant and not be changing. Every time you change a URL, it's basically considered a new page by crawlers, and it can take time for the page to regain the ranking back. Thus, you should always make your URLs as evergreen as possible. However, on this later. And the last reason why URLs are important for SEO is that nicely written URLs not only tell users more about the page and its content without visiting the web page, but also it looks less spammy. For example, would you click on this link if you would see it on social media? I don't think so. You would think it would hack your computer and expose all your browser history, even the delete one, and you don't want that happen. However, you would feel a lot safer if you would see a link like this, whether it is on social media, forums, or anywhere else. And this influences the click performance of your shared URLs, which is also a ranking factor. Links that brought a lot of referral traffic can be used by Google when assessing your website for ranking, as the study showed by Cognitive SEO. With that, I want to conclude. Your URLs are important for SEO, and you should create SEO-friendly URLs for your website. So let's have a look at the SEO URLs best practices to do that. The first SEO URL best practice is to keep your URLs short and easy to read so your users and search engines can easily understand them. For example, URLs like this are difficult to read and understand what's the purpose. You might get a word or two, but you will not be able to figure it out what's going on. Also, even if your URL makes sense, it should not be a sentence where people need to read it to understand it. All these are not ideal for SEO and user experience URLs. Your URLs should be short, straight to the point, containing only the most important information, so users can only glance and right away understand it. And search engines can get only important pieces of information that they need to know when they are indexing your content. Remember, simple URLs convey content information much better. And as stated by Google, any other overly complex URLs can cause a problem for crawlers to index your website. Therefore, whenever you are creating a web page or blog post, make sure you are shortening your URL. Lastly, Backlinko did a study where they found shorter URLs tend to outrank long URLs. The second best practice for SEO URL is to use descriptive URLs. Using descriptive URL has several benefits. First of all, search engines can better understand and rank your content, especially if you include important keywords. Second, they are helpful to users, so they can understand the location and purpose of the page. Next one, descriptive URLs are also better for social shares and sharing with friends, as they can easier understand the topic, and generally descriptive URLs look less spammy. And lastly, descriptive URLs can be cached using the GET method, while query parameters prevent caching. For example, if you look at this URL, you can easily figure it out what's the topic. And if you share it with your friends who are interested in this topic, they will most likely open it as well without thinking twice if they spam. Also, search engines can pick up the important keywords from this URL and use them when indexing your website, so you can rank for the right keywords from the beginning. Descriptive URLs are the basics of SEO-friendly URLs, and you should always use them. However, there are more rules about how you should use the descriptive URLs, so let's move on. The third best practice for SEO URLs is to separate words using only hyphens and not underscores, as it is recommended by Google. Using hyphens in URLs is easier to read and more user-friendly. Also, Google is treating hyphens or dashes as a separator, while underscores not. And if you're already having pages with underscores, it's recommended to not change them, as Google doesn't really care about underscores versus dashes in URLs, according to John Miller. However, as recommended by Google, you should create URLs with hyphens preferably. If you are using WordPress, luckily this is done automatically for every web page and blog post. The fourth best practice for SEO-friendly URL is to only use lowercase to keep consistency and to avoid having problems with 404 pages. As stated in the HTML and URLs document, URLs in general are case sensitive, with the exception of machine names. There may be URLs or part of URLs where case doesn't matter, but identifying these may not be easy. Users should always consider that URLs are case sensitive. This means that you can be using uppercases in your URLs, but it should be standardized across all your website. That's also approved by John Miller as well in his response. However, the problem is that most of the users are already used to using only lowercases in URLs across the internet. Therefore, this could cause a lot of trouble for users searching for URLs on your website. Not only that, but social media are case sensitive as well. If somebody would share your URL using only lowercases, they would be treated as a different URL. That's why using only lowercase in URL is a safer and recommended way to ensure you avoid any SEO troubles with the ranking of your pages, 404 errors, and any duplicated content. If you are already having pages with uppercases, I would recommend you to 301 redirect all of them to pages with lowercases and create it as a canonical URL, so search engines know which page is the original. Another important practice for SEO-friendly URL is to include only a primary keyword in your URL and nothing else. Primary keywords are the main keywords you want to target with your blog posts and pages. It's essentially the main version of all the secondary keywords, often with a high search volume. And as said by Google, keywords in URL are very small ranking factors after it is indexed, and it's not worth restructuring your website. But it's also a big part for crawlers and search engines to better understand what's your page about. And when you look at Google's website pages, you can see they are using primary keywords they want to rank for in URL as well. Therefore, using primary keywords in URL is considered one of the important on-page SEO techniques. And regardless of it, it is a huge or small ranking factor. It's also easy to include your primary keyword in your URL. For example, if you look at any of my articles, you can clearly see what keyword I'm targeting, as I'm only including the primary keyword in the URL. And that same also applies to your product, service, and solution pages. For example, Sage is targeting discrete manufacturing industry to attract potential customers. So they include their primary or target industry keyword in the URL to make it easier for search engines and users to understand what's the page about. If you look at their service pages, each of the pages has only the primary keyword as well. And there are countless more examples I could show you. However, the point is, If you want to compete for the first page of Google, even tiny factors like this can make difference, and you should try to always fully optimize your page for on-page SEO, especially when it's easy like including primary keywords in your URL. Another important SEO URL practice is to avoid unnecessarily keyword repetition. Especially if you are creating categories, sections, and subsections for your website, you might come to a problem where you want to target a primary keyword in a specific word order, but your URL make it difficult. For example, if you have created your category page for all of your services, then you don't want to repeat the word services in your slide anymore. Even though the exact keyword SEO services gets way more search volume than the exact keyword services SEO. It doesn't matter in what order is your keyword in your URL. Search engines are smart enough to understand and rank you for the primary keyword with the high search volume, and you won't be at a disadvantage compared to those who repeat the keyword in the URL, as long as you have the exact keyword you want to target in your page displayed in headings, pictures, content, and etc. Actually, quite otherwise. Search engines can see keyword repetition as a manipulative tactic to improve ranking, which can put you in danger, especially if you do it for more of your web pages. So, don't worry about exact match keywords if you cannot, and don't repeat stuff in your URLs. It does not make difference. Worse, it can potentially hurt you. The next best practice for SEO URLs is to avoid numbers in your URL unless they are important. Using numbers in URL is generally a bad idea because it can cause difficulties in the future when you want to update your articles or web pages or change them to meet search intent. All this can cause a lot of 404 errors, or you will need to do a lot of 301 redirects. For example, an old practice of using a publish date in your URL is really a bad idea, like WordStream is using for all of their articles, such as in this excellent article on headlines examples. Because later, if you want to update your article, you will have two choices, both that are not ideal for SEO. The first one is to republish the article. You will have to delete the old article and republish it with a new URL, which means you will have to do redirects, which can cause you potentially lose ranking and some of the backlinks. Or the second one, update the old article. Or you will keep the article with the old URL and the old date and just update the article. However, a lot of users will see the date and find it outdated and they can leave, which can send a negative signal to Google about your page and cause you to lose ranking. However, if you would have only the primary keyword in the URL, which in this example is headlines examples, you can easily update the article without changing URLs and doing 301 redirects, or showing your users it's an old article that has been updated. It will look like it's freshly sent from the printer. Another example of using numbers in your URLs you want to avoid is using the number of strategies, techniques, reasons, products, best practices, and etc. For example, as you can see in the URL of the article, they included a number of reasons why a digital marketing strategy is important. And again, if you want to update your article and add extra reason or delete one reason, then you will need to republish your article, which can cause more problems. And this applies whether you are using actual numbers or writing numbers in your URL. Therefore, using numbers in URL is generally a bad idea, unless it's important, such as the date, or the number is a name, such as a film 1917 released in 2019. Or the marketing rule of 7 is a good example of when a number should be used in the URL. With that, try to avoid using numbers in URL, unless it's important information or a name that should be included within. Another URL best practice is to remove any unneeded or superfluous information from your URLs. For example, as you can see on this web page, they are targeting the main keyword SEO strategies. However, the word effective is considered as a keyword modifier, and in the URL it's redundant and can limit your reach. Because most of the users will be searching for the keyword sales strategies and add their own keyword modifier like best, quick, for and something, effective, and etc. And this can limit your reach. For example, Google can think your goal is to rank for the keyword effective sales strategies, while the keyword sales strategies is not as important for you, which has a way smaller search volume. Another example could be this web page. As you can see, they are targeting the keyword sales strategies as well. However, then there is the additional information by revealed sales experts, which would be perfectly fine in the title to increase click-through rate, but not in the URL. Again, this doesn't serve any purpose and it doesn't need to be there. Thus, I will recommend you to delete this from the URL and use it only for your title. And the last example is this URL. As you can see, they are targeting the keyword sales tactic. But then there is the second part, that work. That is absolutely useless there. Again, it's good for titles, not for URLs for SEO purposes. Also, there is one thing I want to teach you about keywords. Here you can see they are targeting the keyword sales tactics, which is essentially the same keyword as sales strategies. Therefore, you cannot write two articles to target both keywords, SEO strategies and SEO tactics, as you would end up with keyword cannibalization. So which keyword should you choose to target? You always want to target the highest search volume keyword to maximize your SEO potential, which in this example is the keyword SEO strategies. On top of that, first, it also has lower keyword difficulty, so it should be easier to rank for. And second, it has a higher cost per click, which means it could be a more profitable keyword. This is a common problem you will face during keyword research. So here's my tip. Always find the main primary keyword with the highest search volume and synonyms used as LSI keywords. The ninth best practice for SEO-friendly URL is to organize your content into categories and subcategories. Website architecture is an important part of your SEO strategy, and you should spend some time planning how you are going to organize your content on the website. Organizing your content into categories and subcategories helps in several ways. It helps search engines better understand your content and the relationship between the pages. It helps users to also better understand your content, the relationship between pages, and the location where they are. It helps search engines to better crawl your website and index all your pages. And it helps your users to discover information faster they are looking for. Website architecture is an essential part of your search engine optimization, and organizing your content into categories and subcategories is displayed in the URL. For example, if you are creating podcasts like Joe, then you want to categorize your content under podcasts, so search engines and users know this is a podcast episode and not a blog post. If you are selling your own products or a collection of products, then categorize it as well, so users and search engines can understand that the pages under products are product pages. Are you providing services and you want to drive leads from your website? Categorize your service pages. Do it even if you provide only one service. Or are you writing articles, news, or getting press releases? Then you want to also categorize them as well. Every content on your website should be categorized. Of course, there are tons of different ways how to categorize your product, services, and category pages, and it can be different for e-commerce, content, or lead generation site. However, it's extremely important to do that as it helps search engines and users to navigate across your website and find information. And thus, you should create logical website architecture on your website. Another big mistake I'm seeing quite often website owners, bloggers, and even SEOs are doing is to have blog post titles as a URL. Whenever you are publishing a new blog post or page, WordPress automatically takes the title and converts it into a URL slug. And I'm seeing this SEO mistake across all kinds of websites, niches, and industries, whether it is gaming or even in the SEO industry. So, as I said, you should avoid using blog post titles as your URL and edit it to use only primary keywords. Because, as I already mentioned, what if you want to edit your article due to search intent change or just do historical optimization? Again, it would be really difficult and you would face a lot of problems. The next SEO URL best practice is to fix all 404 errors on your website. There are numerous HTTP status codes that can have a negative impact on your SEO. And the URL 404 error is one of the most serious and easiest to fix. 404 error status code means the page is not found. This could happen because you changed the URL of one of your web pages or delete your page and you didn't update your internal linking. In most cases, every time you change a URL or delete a page, you will want to redirect it to a similar or another appropriate page. The reasons why are because if your web page or blog post generated backlinks, then you would be losing that link juice and even the backlinks, which can cause a decrease in the overall ranking. 404 pages have almost 100% bounce rate, which negatively affects your user experience and engagement metrics, which again can negatively affect your ranking. Traffic that visits the 404 page will most likely never be returned. And lastly, 404 pages can actually rank as well, which again can negatively affect your overall ranking. So to find out if you have any problem with 404 URLs, you can use any website site audit tool. For me, I'm using SE Ranking website audit tool. SE Ranking website audit tool analyzes every of your web page against 120 parameters that impact SEO and gives you a detailed report about your website and its health. And it gives you a comprehensive report of all your HTTP status codes, including 404. This makes it super easy to find and fix URLs with the 404 errors on your website. And once you find 404 errors on your website, then you can use an SEO plugin such as Rank Math and easily set up your redirects. However, don't worry about Google crawling all deleted URLs and giving you 404. It's absolutely normal to have a 404 pages in Google Search Console as your website progresses and you are deleting or updating content. Another SEO URL practice I want to share with you that is related to 404 errors and to overall technical SEO is to keep URLs redirection for a while and don't delete them. According to Google, you should keep your redirects for at least 1 year. You can watch this video to learn more. However, it might be the best to keep all your redirection for as long as you can and don't delete any of your 301 redirects from years back. As if you delete your all 301 redirects, your Google Search Console can show 404 crawl errors as they try to recrawl pages they saw in the past. To learn more, you can also watch this video on how to deal with alt 404 errors. The next best SEO URL and technical SEO practice is to ensure you are using the HTTPS protocol in your URL on your website. The difference between HTTP versus HTTPS is that HTTPS is a protected version of a HTTP using a TLS or SSL certificate to encrypt requests and responses between your website server and browser of a user. With that, using HTTPS can bring several SEO benefits, such as it increases the security and privacy of your users. Google introduced HTTPS as a small ranking factor. Using HTTPS enables you to access the latest modern website technologies to increase page speed. And lastly, HTTPS helps you to comply with some of the privacy regulations. Now, if you have purchased any domain, most likely you got the SSL certificate with the domain to have the HTTPS version for like 2 years. And then you can usually purchase an SSL certificate with your domain or hosting provider as well. Also, some of the hosting providers like Eduard gives free SSL certificate for all of their users. So, if you don't have one, I recommend you to speak with your hosting provider to suggest you the best place to purchase your SSL certificate and then ask them to implement it for you. The next recommended SEO URL best practice I have for you is to purchase related ccTLD for your target location. ccTLDs, country code top level domains, are used or reserved to target a certain country. Or you can use region-specific TLDs like .asia or .eu. And both are great to use for local businesses that are targeting users from certain nations or regions, as Google is using ccTLDs for geo-targeting, as it has them to recommend these websites when people are searching for something local. However, what most of the local business owners do is that they want to have the general TLDs like .com and others to have open doors in case they want to go global, I guess. But what they don't realize is that it makes it harder for them to target the local searches at first, so they can grow into the international business they want. Plus, in most cases, local businesses stay local and barely expand into another region, but rather expand their offerings in the region and expand into other local industries instead. Therefore, not using related ccTLDs if you are a local business could hurt your SEO performance for your most important money keywords. Additionally, it's much easier to compete for local search terms than international, giving you a much bigger chance to drive SEO ROI sooner. And the last URL SEO best practice I have for you is to use exact and contextual anchor text to match your URL primary keyword. For example, when I wrote the article on link building strategies, I have used various anchor text to link to the page. And as you can see, I have also used the exact keyword anchor text that is matching the primary keyword located in the URL. Because all these on-page SEO techniques make it easier for Google to understand what's your content about. As you need to realize, Google doesn't read your content, but is using math and algorithm to figure it out what's going on your web pages to rank your content appropriately. Therefore, the easier you make it to understand your content, the better ranking you can expect from Google. And using anchor text that matches your URL primary keyword is an excellent way to do that. And that's all from me. I hope you have learned something new, so please like my video, write a nice comment below, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, check out all my links in the description for my favorite SEO and other marketing tools. Ciao!